a lot of times we interview people for whom breaking out of the mold was this difficult kind of psychological process because the cultural norm is go to regular school. I'm wondering, because of your background, did you have any, oh no, should I do this or not? Or you had so much confidence from your mom, it's like, of course we do this. Talk a little bit about how unusual it was, or cultural pressures and that kind of thing.
Well, that's an excellent question, because I think as a young person in this the school system, I was very disillusioned with what I saw as being education. I love to learn. I was a voracious reader, so much so that I would get in trouble oftentimes for reading when I'm supposed to be doing chores. I'm in a closet somewhere under the bed reading up at night. So I was just a voracious learner. I was really extra all the time. So you give me an assignment, I'm going to make a musical theatrical presentation with an assignment. And it's like, this is what learning should be, because these are the kinds of things that in my mind, if learning is supposed to be about demonstrating your understanding, then it should be received in any way that, you know, the teacher can see that you synthesize the information, and it shouldn't only have to be regurgitating exactly what they said. And this was early on. And so I had a really, schooling was very disruptive to who I was as an individual, and it was a very uncomfortable space, also because of if you showed a type of agency or expertise or ability in a certain area and not another, it was very hard for them to categorize you. And so that was, the tracking system was very disparate. It was jolting and traumatic for me, because I was not, my mother was a mathematician. I was not a mathematician. I was everything. I was an artist. I was a writer. I was, you know, theatrical, all of these things, and, you know, languages, but schools want to track you. And so I had the misfortune of seeing how children that were on the so-called gifted track were treated, and how children who were, as they called in the comprehensive kids, were treated. And I remember being sent to a class where it was straight out of something, those really bad movies where it's the teacher savior and they're in the hood saving the children, and the children on the tables dancing and throwing chairs at the teacher. Well, I was sent to a class like this and was like, what in the hot hell is happening? And I remember asking my mother, I have to go back to the other, because I had been put on this track, because I said I wanted a math class that wasn't as accelerated. And they said, well, if you do that, then all of your classes are going to change. And so I chose to go back to the other track where I was in math. That's when math got away from me that year, so that I could do my other classes, and so I wouldn't be in this environment where the teachers really were not engaged with the students.
Yeah, I think your story is, I mean, if we could have honest dialogue with kids in mass, we would hear stories like that about clearly understanding that there's a different type of environment that kids are getting tracked to within the same school. Right? People always talk about, well, this school's good or that school's bad, but within the same school, there are all these different, all these different categories.
And the children know, and they know how when the adults do not care about them, they know when there are no expectations that are had for them. And that was the biggest thing for me, is that there's no expectation. There's no type of expectation of self-policing that you know. And one of the things that I noticed on the other track, kids could be left to do whatever, and they're trusted to do what's right, if that makes any sense. And all of these things you internalize. And, you know, talking to homeschooling mothers now, and even with the research, you find that a lot of us who ultimately chose homeschooling, a lot of our decision making revolved around our experiences in the schooling system ourselves.
Right.